Welcome back, everyone, to the Captive Raptors podcast. I'm here today with my very first guest, hopefully first of many, Mr. Rango's gaff. Me and Rango will be speaking on... He's worked in pet shops and he's currently really into his photography, so we're going to be touching on that. He's managed to gain a nice social media following, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his experience between pet shops and zoos in the case of varanids as well as other animals, as well as his blue iguana, his green iguana, exanthic phase. Wilson, we'll talk about that, as well as just get to know Rango. I'm sure, well, he's got a bigger following than me, so everyone probably knows who he is and doesn't know who I am. But yeah, so we're just going to have a nice conversation about reptiles and just see where it goes. So, Mr. Rango, off to you.
All right, yeah. Rango's gaff on all socials. Started all my socials in February and just hope to sort of gain a following before I set up the actual Rango's gaff facility that I'm in at the minute. It's only a small little place. Just keep everything here for now. Hoping to expand in the future maybe, but at the minute we're just in a small little shed, just trying to turn my hobby into a lifestyle pretty much. Yeah.
You've got to start somewhere, my friend. I'm in a tiny little flat filled with lizards, so you have to start somewhere. So, speaking of starting, when did you first get into reptiles?
There wasn't really like my dad bought bearded dragons. I remember him saying he was working in someone's house and they had Chinese water dragons, and he saw them and he thought they were really cool and he was desperate to get some. And he went to a pet shop that I then later on, when I was born, I became quite friendly with that pet shop. And they sold him a pair of bearded dragons that were called Freddie and Lucy. And I pretty much grew up, I was born and I grew up around these bearded dragons and I thought they were really cool. So I've always really been around them.
That's pretty cool.
I got my first reptile, my corn snake Sid, at age either 6 or 7. I think it was 6, and then 7 I got some leopard geckos. So I mean I've had reptiles pretty much my whole life. So yeah, started very young.
Nice. And has Sid, have you still got Sid now?
Yeah, so she'd be roughly about 12 years old now. Still got her. She doesn't live here.
Oh, nice.
She's in my house. So she's in my bedroom at the minute. Yeah, but she's doing well.
No, that's good because most people don't normally keep their first reptile. Most people normally get, like you say, a bearded dragon, a corn snake, a leopard gecko.
Yeah.
That's good. That's the right attitude to have. That's good. Because, like I say, my start on reptiles was a bit different to yours. My parents weren't into it. I was into it from ever, and my parents said to me, like, okay, you can get something. And I got a Sudan plated lizard. When I was probably about 7 as well. But we didn't have him for very long because my parents didn't want to take care of him, and I was obviously only 7. So it was only really when I got to move out that I actually got to keep reptiles. So it's good that you were exposed to it from a really young age because that's probably helped you now getting into your older years.
Yeah, because I think if it wasn't for that, I probably would have never really gotten into them as much. That's a crazy first reptile. I mean, everyone today has their first reptile was a leopard gecko, bearded dragon, or royal python. So that's a pretty cool starting, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, but I think when I got my first reptile, you probably weren't even born. So it was 21 years ago when I got my first reptile.
Yeah. I turned 18 in July, so
there you go. Yeah, so it was very different when I first started into reptiles and actually going to reptile shops around 6 or 7. The species diversity in comparison to today was ridiculous. Like there was so many random odds and ends. Now everyone tries to push you towards these starter species.
Yeah. I guess it's probably a lot of it was probably wild caught as well, which I'm glad we've got more captive bred stuff, but it's all the same now. I think a lot of it is the same. You have to go to specific shops and breeders if you want something that's not normal, you know.
Yeah, it's hard because me as a varanid keeper, when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way probably up until around 15, 16, you could pretty much get what you wanted. But now I'm 28, and other than Akis, Bosks, Niles, that's probably it. Everything else is classed as rare, and then you get other stuff which is really rare. So when you're trying to find stuff like Indicus, my mangrove monitor, she's impossible to find a boyfriend for, whereas years ago they were everywhere. So it just goes to show when people don't breed and take species for granted.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, it's just there's so many species that used to be about that. I mean, you rarely see anymore. I mean, I think obviously bearded dragons, ball pythons. I get it. They are good beginner reptiles, but I think people being pushed to get them rather than something that they've seen and they like. I don't know. I think it's good in a way because people aren't going to buy something that's going to be insanely difficult to keep alive and look after. But at the same time, that's why a lot of things I feel like a lot of bearded dragons go into rehoming because people have seen like a monitor lizard and they say I want that, and then a reptile shop has said, "Oh, I'll have this. It's easier," and then it's not what they want. So I feel like that's why a lot might go into rehoming.
no, I agree. No, I 100%
Mm.
agree. I don't think there's such a thing as a beginner species. Obviously, there are in the sense of care requirements. If you've never had a reptile before, it's probably a bad idea getting a mangrove monitor or an iguana or a
Oh yeah, yeah.
emerald tree boa. But if you're old enough, have enough resources,
And
and
if yeah, the right
you're
research. I mean,
sensible enough, you can do enough research and get your experience in, and you could probably
there's
start
like
out with most
unlimited
reptiles.
research that you can do. I mean, I'm still learning stuff that I mean, I like to research before I get anything. I make sure I've got the correct setup and I'm going to be doing the best. I like to look at different websites to see different opinions of different people. But then even then, you can still get a reptile and end up learning things way after. I mean, there's still research being done. Like I remember when I first got my leopard geckos, everyone was using the red heat bulbs. You've seen the red heat bulbs, and they used to have leopard geckos on the packaging. Now there's more research being
Yeah,
done, and now apparently I've
yeah,
not
yeah,
done that much research into it, but it can turn them blind.
yeah.
So I heard that, and I mean I haven't used them since, but it's like there's always research being done. So I guess your research is never over.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. No, the again with the red bulbs as well. It's if you imagine being a completely black room, for example, a box which is a vivarium, and you have nothing but a red bulb, and we now know that reptiles can see a lot more color spectrum than we once believed. So if you imagine just based on our eyesight, if you're in a nothing but a
Mm,
black room with just a red glow, everything has a red hue to it. So regardless of being
yeah,
made to go blind or not, for the sense of
be
mental
like
health and mental
torture.
enrichment and mental welfare of
Yeah,
animals, if
horrible.
you're in a completely dark enclosure. Yeah, exactly. And it's the same as UVB or
Yeah.
6,500 Kelvin natural daylight, um, without giving that to any from Crispecula to diurnal reptiles. Nocturnal's a bit different, but why not provide it during the day anyway? Because they just, as long as you've got a
Yeah.
place where they can retreat and hide, what difference does it make? Um, but yeah, herpetoculture is being pushed definitely in the right way. Sadly, there's a lot of people that still are behind the times, and because they believe it's worked for 20 years, it still works now, which isn't the case. But as for me, if you're willing to change
Yeah,
to
yeah.
benefit your captive,
I
you're not a
hate it
bad
when people
keeper, in my opinion.
they have learned how to keep them one way and they are stubborn that that's the way that you keep them. I mean, there's so many different different people that keep things in different ways. I mean I like to see how people keep their animals, and I mean it's all behavioural as well. You can if you keep them one way, they might express some behaviours that they might not in other setups, and I think it's good to have an insight at everyone's different opinions. And I mean, I think that's the way forward. That's how you're going to learn more about the animals you're keeping, I think.
No, 100% I agree, and that's what I hope this podcast will do. Is mainly for monitor lizards, obviously, because that's my niche. But I hope that people will find this and because I'm getting multiple keepers to talk about multiple species. Sometimes I might have someone talking about an Aki, but I might have 10 episodes on an Aki. So everyone's going to care for it differently, but hopefully they'll be able to pick out key parts of said episodes and realize, okay, well, this is clearly where I want the basking spot to be, or this is clearly what I want for lighting, or this is clearly what I want for substrate, rather than the minefield that is YouTube and or Google.
Even just not on the internet, the boxes with the red lights on them had pictures of leopard geckos on them, and I'm pretty sure you can still find them today with leopard geckos on the boxes, where it's supposed to be very bad for their vision, and as you said, mental well-being as well. It's crazy how they can market something like that with the picture of a species that it could possibly harm on it. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's the same as Reptile carpet. The amount of issues and drama you get with Reptile carpet, it's still available to buy, which is ludicrous. But I guess these big companies, they're just trying to make money, so you can't hold them accountable.
Exactly.
The problem is they wouldn't
buy
make a
it
product
because
if people
they
don't
think,
buy it.
oh, they wouldn't make it if it didn't work, but it's not the case. It's like two wrongs. They're not gonna, it's not helping.
No, I agree. No, I agree completely. And these animals aren't asking to be in our care. They don't ask to be put in boxes. So the least we can do is try and give them the best homes feasibly possible and constantly continue to grow and change in ourselves to better our lives of our captives, regardless of the species.
I think that's right.
I don't think there's an excuse not to be honest.
I mean, with the animals that I keep, I'm currently, at the minute, all these setups around me are all ones that I've bought with animals or rehomed with animals and sort of for temporarily. And then I've got all drawings all around on the walls of where all the custom enclosures are going to be going. And I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to have the most excellent welfare. I want to be able to post on my social media platforms and have people look at my enclosures and want to make a change to their enclosure if they think it's for the best. I want to inspire people to do better and have the best animal welfare they possibly could.
No, that's good. I think I resonate with that in the sense of I want to do the best for me, and if someone else sees it, great.
Yeah,
but
100%.
First and foremost, you want to make sure that you and your animals are content and happy, and then if anyone else benefits from it, then so be it. Again, another reason I started the podcast was very selfishly. I wanted to, one, nerd out with reptile keepers, and two, better expand my horizons as such. But I thought I might as well try and publicize it, because if I can help, because I get a lot of messages now that I've sort of put myself out a little bit on social media, and the amount of people that have no idea, and that was used to be me, so there's no point in slating people because everyone starts somewhere, but the problem is they don't know where to go. And the problem is with social media, especially Facebook, when you comment or come onto Facebook, people just tear you apart. And I know personally, I was too scared when I was 19, 20 to post onto Facebook because I just thought people would rip me a new one. So I was like, well, I'll go to Google, and then there's if you go onto Google and type in basking spot of an Aki, exactly, basking spot of an Aki on Google is between 35 degrees and 70 degrees. But that's a big temperature gradient. So where do you go? Yeah, and it's one of them somewhere will be right, but the problem is when you've got, I keep looking down because my mangrove monitor is currently trying to dig herself out, and I'm just she's actually digging her vent, so I'm making sure she's not going to escape. But yeah, that's the problem. I keep my adult Akis around 60 degrees, so the higher end of what's recommended. But some people will probably think, oh, that seems very hot, so I'll go 40 degrees. But the problem is with that, if they're not hot enough, they can't digest their food. And if they can't digest their food, they get obese or they get unwell. And it'll be the same for any animal not kept correctly. Yeah, it's not good, but hopefully people like yourself and myself, and there's many other people in herpetoculture now that are trying to push husbandry.
I answer any messages. I get a few messages about sort of a lot of them are just like, oh, what pet snake is best for a beginner or whatever. But I do get some messages that are asking me about how I keep some of my animals and what's the best way to keep them. And I answer every single message. I mean, every message where I feel like I can help someone, I'll answer it. I mean, I don't think people should be embarrassed, because I know obviously if they've not done enough research, that is on them, and they should have done enough research. But I mean, it's happened to me before where, I mean, when I, like, some of the animals that I've rehomed, it's like you only have a certain amount of time to get them before they're gonna go to someone else. And if some of my animals were kept in enclosures that I would definitely not keep them in, so I've just taken them on as soon as possible and tried to do better as I'm, after I've got them, it's temporarily and slowly increasing their husbandry. So I do understand when some people have, you know,
Yeah, no, that's good because yeah, no, I because obviously we've been speaking a little bit back and forth on social media, um, and I know that you've taken on quite a few rescues, which is obviously very commendable. But this is going to be a
yeah,
handed question, so you could sort of tell me both sides.
exactly.
So obviously you can't rescue everything, and some of the animals you're quote
Yeah.
unquote rescuing, you're going to have to rehome. So where do you think, one, what do you think needs to be done, and two, where do you think the line needs to be drawn with yourself personally? Because I've got a couple of animals which are rescues, and I think to myself
Yeah.
now in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have taken you on.
I
So
think,
where do you
well,
think
you see,
personally your
with
head is
some
with
of the
that?
rescues that I've taken on, when I've, well, I mean, I say rescues, some of them are kept really, really well, and I mean, in like amazing setups and looked after really well, very healthy. But when I've rehomed some animals due to their home situation, or whether they can't look after them anymore, money, whatever it is, um, I found that when I've tried to rehome one of the animals, they've also got another load of their collection that they're trying to get rid of, and I've ended up just saying, right, I'll take it all, because in a way, I think it's also because I'm taking one away because that would be good for my collection, and if they're fit and healthy, then possibly a breeder or something like that, and I don't want to leave the rest there. You see what I mean? And so I have, in a couple of cases, taken pretty much the whole collection as like a temporary home if they're trying to, for example, if they need to move out and they've got to get rid of everything desperately. I don't want them to just rush picking a new home and giving it to someone that doesn't really know what they're doing. So I have just taken pretty much full collections in and temporarily housed them,
Yeah,
fed them, looked after them, given them good welfare. And I will unfortunately have to rehome some of them just because they like, for example, they might be taking up too much room, or if they're, I don't know, if they don't fit in with my collection. Because at the end of the day, this is a breeding facility. I've built this to breed animals, sell offspring, and stuff like that. So if they are taking up space where I can't make profit, because at the end of the day, if I don't make enough profit, or even to sort of equal out what I'm spending on energy, enclosures, food, then I wouldn't be able to do this. So if they are not
yeah,
in like the nicest way possible, if they are
100%.
a
Yeah,
burden to my facility, and I need to sort of rehome them, I've got to do what's best for me, because I don't want to end up taking on too much, not having the money or time to look after them, and then have to take in everything. You see, so I
yeah.
will have to
You're
start
not a
rehoming
rescue.
things, but I'm hoping that.
Yeah, no, I see.
Yeah, it's not urgent. I don't
It's
urgently need to get rid of anything, but I want to find the animals the correct homes and check that these people have done enough research. And if they need, I can hopefully sell them a whole setup, because that's what I hope to do. I hope to sell full setups, possibly bioactive, and I want to be able to teach people why they need the setups that I will be given with them, and why the animals need everything that I've included. So I want to sort of educate people as I'm rehoming, rather than letting these animals go to someone because the original owner can't look after them anymore and just has to quickly get rid of everything. So that's why I've taken on lots of things I probably shouldn't have in the financial. perspective. But at the end of the day, I've gone there to rehome one animal. So it is a bit sort of, I think at the end of the day, sometimes like when I'm paying for them, I use my heart and not my brain sometimes.
So you
But
feel like you're a bit of a halfway house?
I'm hoping that anything that I do rehome, I can give the best home possible rather than a rushed home that it might have been instead, sort of thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no. So you're like a halfway house in the sense that
yeah,
these people need to get rid of these animals quite quickly.
yeah.
You're giving them the opportunity to be able to find the correct home
Exactly.
or
Yeah,
the correct individual to be able to give them the correct home. It's a hard one though, because like you say, you can't rescue everything, and especially at the moment, saw on Snakes and Adders literally today that they got a phone call
yeah,
and a bearded dragon had been dumped in a bin somewhere or something like that.
horrible.
Um, it's
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we won't get into that because that'll be the whole podcast. Um, but for me, what kind of calloused individual do you need to be to have, I don't know, the morality to actually just dump an animal into a bin when there are people like yourself? There are people, regardless of you, because in the nicest way possible, obviously you're small fry in comparison to like, I forget the abbreviation, but the massive reptile rescue in the Reptile Centre of Excellence, whatever it is.
Exactly.
They've taken on thousands of animals. Even silly places like the Cheshire Reptile Rescue. There's so many reptile rescues. There's one Surrey and Hampshire Reptile Rescue, which is my local one. Like, just make a phone call
Yeah,
and then just go
it's weird because I
and
think
drop it off
people,
there. Like, there's no
I think the
need.
people that dump them feel like they're going to get judged by rehoming them, and it's like an anonymous way to get rid of them, which is morally very wrong. And I think that if that was like a puppy or a kitten or something like that, like your normal domestic pet, that would have probably been on the news. It's like, it's because it's one of these, because it's a reptile, people don't realize that it deserves better than that. I think people sort of just shrug over it and get on with it. But I think if it was one of your normal domestic pets, that would have been a complete different story. But then a couple of weeks ago, there was that snake that was crawling on someone's roof, and that got for the wrong reason. It's like reptiles seem to always get publicity for the wrong reason, and it doesn't make sense to me. I think they're better pets, to be fair.
It's it's because from the dawn of time, from when I'm not religious, but when Adam and Eve were created by God, even then the devil appeared himself in the form of a snake. So from the dawn of time, and even if you believe in the theory of evolution, our ancestors, when we were living in savannas and caves, we would have been scared of things like Megalania and Titanoboa and silly stuff like that. Not necessarily them because they're dinosaur times, but the equivalent of caveman era. Maybe not in the Ice Age, but back when we were just apes in trees, we would have. Even now, you see like troops of chimpanzees. They have certain warning calls for certain species of snake. So it's an innate fear, but it's almost a responsibility of people like you and I to show people. Like when I go out into like public, and either with my animals or someone else's animals, or get public to come to my place, the amount of minds I can change in a small window. But you just need to give me a window. But like people refuse to learn, and they say to their kids, "Oh, don't go near that, or don't touch that, or spiders are bad, or snakes are bad." Then the kids don't know any different. It's like if I said to my son from the day he was born, the
Exactly.
color green is the
That's
color
a really
red,
good way
he
of putting
wouldn't
it.
know any
Yeah, it's
different
like
until someone
it's
challenged him one
almost
day.
taught into them, like from a young age, and then they don't know anything different. They don't know that snakes can be, not all snakes are aggressive, or like it's strange. It's strange the way they've been put into this category of being sort of dangerous and sort of evil in a way. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's weird.
It's because
Yeah,
the opposite of fear is knowledge, and the problem is
yeah, and
people
we
that are
just don't know.
scared, they're unwilling to learn. And we Well, yeah, we as reptile keepers need to remember if someone's scared of a snake, the worst thing we can do is one, belittle them, or two, throw a
Yeah,
snake in their face. It's all about slow exposure therapy. So you need to be like, oh well, why are you scared of snakes? And then they'll, because we're in the UK, we have one venomous snake. I've been bitten by an adder myself. I'm still standing here. So there's no need to be scared of them. I still
yeah,
love snakes. I'm more of a lizard guy really, but I love snakes too. Um, but the problem is, why are you scared of snakes? Oh, I don't know, because there was one in the garden one time when I was 7. Okay, well, that's not a reason to be scared of snakes. Why are you scared of snakes? Can I get you in front of a snake?
yeah.
Can I show you that they're not slimy? Can I show you that they're actually calculated, like meticulous, methodical creatures rather than just primitive? Well, they are primitive killing machines, but we as reptile keepers understand that, and that excites us. But to say that to Joe Blogs, probably they're like, "Oh
Well,
God, no!"
that's yeah,
But they are a lot more
yeah,
intelligent and personable than people give them credit for. Especially when you get into lizards, because lizards are like next level. I mean, this is me bashing on snakes now, but a snake is great.
they
But
don't.
then when you get a highly intelligent lizard and you see them when you come into the room and they know exactly what you're doing before you even do it, then you start to
That's not,
realize, oh God, like these things are smart. So, but people don't see that unless you're
yeah,
around someone who's
yeah.
passionate about it. Yeah, it's
I
hard.
mean, snakes are smart, but the monitor lizards,
But
they're like the most intelligent lizard species. And I mean, I've worked with monitors in reptile shops. I've worked with monitors at the zoo that well, I'm volunteering there at the minute. And it's amazing. Working with the zookeepers, it's amazing. They have some really cool reptile species, but the monitor, they've got a monitor lizard called Arnie, Nile Monitor, and he, he's so intelligent. It's like he knows when it's feeding time, and he yeah, they're so cool. They're so cool. They're so smart.
it's wicked. The zoo you do a bit of photography at, they've got a Biac tree monitor as well, haven't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
they're only a small species, but
What's he like?
yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, you go around the back. There's sort of as you walk into the reptile room, they've got the enclosure. It's all changing soon, so I mean, by the time a lot of people will be listening to this, it's probably completely different. But as you walk in, you've got all the enclosures, sort of to your left, and then on your right, you have the big Burns enclosure, which is not going to be a Burns enclosure very soon as well. And they've got a sailfin dragon at the minute, and then they've also right next to that is where the Biac tree monitor is. If you go around the back to the keeper area, as soon as you open that door, as soon as you have a bit of food in your hand, he comes straight up. He comes shooting up straight up to the top, and tongue flicks, and he just knows. He just knows his food before you even have the food in the tongs ready. He just knows. Yeah, because they sort of learn the routine, I suspect.
Yeah, no, they are next level.
Yeah, it's crazy. Such a beautiful lizard as well.
Yeah, they're really rare actually. The Biacs. There's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
many
I've
at all in the
seen
UK.
one in person until I went to the zoo, and it's amazing to work with. Really cool.
Yeah, no, they're arguably my favourite species of the tree monitor complex is the
People come
Biacs,
see
but
it.
the I'll have to. I think you're not that far from me. So when next time I'm down that way, I'll have to come in. But it's I've just obviously got a baby green tree monitor, and
Yeah,
I've got adults as well. But working with babies in comparison to an adult is just next level. So I'd like to get one day baby Biacs and work with them from very very young. That'd be pretty inquisitive and cool.
because I mean, at the zoo, obviously they are tame. I mean, the monitors. I mean, no monitor. You have to be wary, especially in a zoo environment. You have to be very careful. Just, I mean, we have to be extra careful. You don't want to get bitten, especially. I mean, if it's your own collection, you get bitten. Unlucky. I mean, but especially in a zoo environment, you have to be professional. You have to make sure. I mean, it's on show when we feed him. I mean, we'll feed them when there's people around, and you've got to be on show. You've got to be professional, and they are tame enough to. They don't lash out at you, but they're not as social as what your little baby green tree one. It's so social. You put your arm in there, it comes running up. It's amazing. Yeah, they're not quite as
Yeah,
social as
she's
that. But
No. How big is the Nile Monitor there? Is it an adult?
I think I don't think he's an adult. No, I'm not sure where they got him, how old he is exactly, but he's definitely not an adult yet.
No, because they can push 7 foot Niles.
Yeah, no, he's. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how long he is. He's often either sits under his water bowl or he's right at the top of his enclosure as high as you can get. He's never in a normal place. I would like to know.
Niles are my. Just see how long he is, because they're quite quick growing. They'll be fully grown in 3 or 4 years. So if he's not, it's hard to say as well though. But if he's 3 or 4 foot, he's probably 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So,
but, I'm definitely not 7 foot yet. So.
Yeah, if he is a he, they can 5 to 6 foot's realistic, but they can push 7 foot, and then females would be 4 to 5 foot.
I'm pretty.
Is he? I don't know if you know. Is he a ornate or is he just a normal Nile?
As far as I know, he's a normal Nile.
Is he like olive green rather than and small flecks rather than like Socialize circles?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
No, it's cool. The only reason I ask is because Niles, they have a reputation for being assholes. So I just wondered if he is an asshole, because ornates are supposed to be quite tame, and true Niles, are supposed to be quite dicks.
I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll have to have a look, because I wouldn't have a clue off the top of my head.
No, that's fine. But on to from one big lizard to another, you rescued / inherited / took in it is an exanthic green iguana, isn't it?
He is exanthic het snow. So, well, I'm told he's het snow. So I'm gonna where I got him, I'm very trusted. So exanthic het snow. I can grab him right now. He's quite chilled out. Let's grab him.
You can get him if you like. If you want to get yourself clawed up, then feel free to get yourself clawed up.
Well, I assume you've seen some of the videos from when I first got him. He wasn't quite hand tame, but now he's pretty good. Pretty good boy. He would tail whip and bite.
I've seen them.
Different. You think it's a different lizard? He's so chill.
Yeah, I've seen the work you've put in.
He's just
that's good work, man. They're pretty. So what strategies have you been using to socialize young Wilson here?
So, well, when I first got him, it was when I went to pick him up, I just had to pillowcase him, just had to pillowcase him and take him home. And then I gave him, I didn't handle him that much first couple of days. I sort of let him chill out, let him get used to his new environment. But I mainly, it was a mix of, I didn't want to reach in and grab him out. Didn't want to scare him too much. But I mean, even now, I'm still working on trying to get him to come to me. It's going to be a bit of a long process, but it's more just being gentle when I pick him up from underneath, not coming in from up top. I pick him up from underneath. And then it was just slowly working on. He didn't like my hands to begin with. I think he was just scared. So I would let him sort of sit away from me, and I'd stroke him with maybe sometimes I'd put a sock on my hand or use like a t-shirt to cover my hand because he was a little bit spooked of my hand. I mean, now he's completely he's quite chill. You'd never think it's the same lizard. I also he in his old home, they never saw him eat. He would only eat when he was alone, and they never saw him eat at all. So I tried tongue feeding a little bit. Wasn't really having any of it. Now he tongue feeds most fruits, and I'm still trying to get him to come to me. But it's a lot of it. I did a little bit of desensitization training as well, which is just basically trying to just touch him everywhere on his body, just making sure I get all of his feet, his tail was the hardest bit, because whenever I used to touch it, he would whip me in the face. And he's only small, but it hurts when he whips you 5 or 6 times in one handling session. So a lot of it was just getting him out. If he was going absolutely nutty, I'd wait for him to chill out, let him have a run around the room. Once he's calm, I'd approach him calmly from underneath, try and pick him up. If he was a bit scared of my hand, I'd put him on my leg, sort of have my leg extended out, let him sit on my leg, try and stroke under his chin. That was the first place he let me stroke him, which was under the chin. And then from there, I just started working up the side of his head, along his back, and then eventually the tail. And now he's getting there. He's definitely getting there. Different lizard from what he originally was. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember when you first got him, and I remember you messaged me and you were like, "Do you have any tips on how to tame a lizard? Because this guy's crazy." But looking at him now, because you haven't even, yeah, you
he was
haven't had him
absolutely
very long.
no. Oh no, only I don't know exactly. Probably just a couple of months. To be fair.
Yeah, that's
Not
great
long at
work,
all.
to be honest with you. Massive hats off for that, because I know green iguanas are notoriously
Yeah.
twats.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking forward to when he's completely mature. Breeding seasons are going to be a little bit funky, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll be all right.
Yeah, nice. So how do you find? So obviously you're mainly a snake guy by the sounds of it. How are you finding the difference between having a lizard in your life in comparison to keeping snakes?
I mean, to be fair, I've had both really since as long as I can remember. Snakes are very, very well. Not all snakes. Most snakes, for example, ball pythons, prime example, very, very low sort of. You don't need to do a whole lot for them. Yeah, very low maintenance. They are very sort of. They just feed once a week, fill up their water dish every day. A little bit of handling, very easy going. I mean, my corn snake when she was about as long as a pencil, I took a couple of little bites when I was younger, but then ever since she's been perfect. I've been bitten once recently by her, but that's because I I, I decided it was during feeding time, which is fair enough, and for some reason I dropped the mouse and reached into the enclosure with my hand, which is completely my fault. So she's tame as anything. Yeah, I can get her out, and she'll often just curl up, sort of sit with me, tame as anything. With leopard geckos, they're fairly easy going as well. Bit more maintenance than snakes, but they're fairly easy going as well. A little bit of handling. They're quite chilled out. I mean, they sort of waver. Some days they are fine with handling. Other days they're a little bit sort of, they do their little bark and they want to get away from you. But Wilson, he has been. You can tell he's made progress, because from the initial handling, it was bites, constant tail, which he'd be dashing away. He would just want to get as far away from me as possible. Whereas now he is noticeably tamer. I'm still working with him. I try and handle him whenever possible, without overdoing it. Obviously, I try and handle him as many days as I can. Try and tongue feed whenever possible. Tongue feed him this morning. Took a couple of blackberries. He loves blackberries. We found that recently. My mum picked him some blackberries and he absolutely loved them. So we'll get him some more of them soon. I think that will be probably the main way I'll try and get him to come towards me. Trying to find someone from the zoo recommended goji berries, which are not very common. I'll grab those quickly. Let Wilson get back. I did sort of wake him up from a little nap, so we'll let him get back to that. Bungie Berries. I got these from Tesco, and they're sort of like red raisins. I'd never heard of them before this zookeeper mentioned them to me. She's worked with a few iguanas in the past, and we just pretty much put them in a bowl of water, and he'll just take them from the tongs. He likes them, and apparently they're good for training iguanas. He likes a number of different fruits, so I might just switch it up and try and get him to come to me for the food using the tongs. I mean, he's pretty good with the tongs. He knows the tongs mean feeding, so that's a bit of target training done. He knows the tongs mean feeding. If I try and pick up a bit of his fruit and try and feed it to him in my hand, he won't try and eat it at all, which is it's good. It is good because if I
Yeah.
ever someone that maybe can't read the body language of an iguana very well come and want to sort of stroke him, I can have a lot more trust in him now than what I could a month or so ago. So yeah, it's good. It is good, and it's been fun for me as well. I've enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see how tame we can get him, and possibly even some harness training when he's a little bit bigger. I'd love to get him on a harness, take him out, let people meet him, try and teach people that he's not evil, because a lot of people seem to think he's evil.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can relate to that a lot because obviously when I talk to people about monitors, they go, "Oh, aren't they those Komodo dragon things?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much the same, yeah." And they go, "But aren't they venomous?" And I go, "Yeah, I got bit by a tree monitor the other day, and I lost the feeling in my hand for an hour." And they're like, "Oh my god, like, is that not?" I was like, "People get eat nuts and they die, you know." Like, there's nothing scary. Like, you just have to take the good with the bad. Like, just because they're venomous doesn't mean I'm gonna react to it. It doesn't mean I've been keeping monitors, just monitors now for nearly 3 years, and I've been bitten 4 times,
Pretty good.
and yeah, 3 of which were breeding Akis, where I tried to introduce my females and they hated each other. So one was when I picked a female up and she bit me the day I picked her up. One was separating my 2 females and they were trying to bite each other. I separated them instantly, so they were biting me. So that was 3, 1 bite from each female. And then my 5 to life. I've been bitten by a Timor once. That was my fault because I ripped it out of its enclosure because I had to clean the enclosure and they hide in cork tubes. So I dragged it out and it bit me and didn't let go for 20 minutes. And then I got bit by my tree monitor recently, and again that's my fault because I went in there, spooked it, and it just bit me. Nicked this finger, just nicked it, and I lost the whole feeling in my hand. I had dexterity, but I couldn't feel my hand for about an hour. Yeah, it was good fun.
That's
Yeah,
the
it
thing.
was good
Some
fun.
people that don't have experience with reptiles, they will think that's horrifying. But to me and you, that's like, it's not really anything. It's not, you know, it's not as scary as it sounds. I mean, like, for example, snake bites. People, I mean, I try and avoid snake bites as much as possible. I don't have a hook here because I don't really have anything that can cause serious damage, and I want
Warrants
to
it.
hand
Yeah,
tame. I want to hand tame my animals. Whereas at the zoo, they are sort of display species. They don't have to be hand tamed. No one's really going to be handling them like a pet. Really, they are there. They're in their environment. They're happy as they are. Whereas, like for example,
yeah,
at the minute, my true reptile Suriname boa, she's pretty good at the minute. She gets a little bit bitey during feeding time, which is understandable. I completely get that. Whereas my Chinese king rat snake, he I think he's always been bitey. When I collected him, the previous owners said that he was a little bit nippy. So I think he just needs more handling. I try handling him. Sometimes he's better than others, but a lot of the time he will bite. I try and reduce it, but I mean, he is it's crazy to watch because of how defensive he gets. I'm hoping with a bit of desensitization, just getting him out and him learning over time that I am not a threat. I mean, I had a little nip from today, but it's just I'm trying to not hold him, not overhandle him, but I want to handle him enough, and hopefully he will learn that I'm not a threat because I don't want him to be fully grown adult, like be a fully grown adult and still be biting me. I'd rather take the little
yeah,
nips now and not have any big nips later on.
yeah. They're So the king rats are quite known for being quite bitey, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. They're amazing though.
Yeah,
They they are known for being a little bit bitey, a little bit defensive, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, royal pythons, complete opposite. I mean, I think they're not a pet rock. Although they seem it, they just sit like that. They do climb in their own time, but
yeah,
they are very stationary. They'll just sit there happily and not do anything for long periods
yeah,
of time. I think people like that in a snake. People that might never have had a snake before, might never have had experience with a snake before. I think it's good for people like that because it's not gonna bite you. It very rarely will it bite you. it's quite calm, quite,
Yeah.
docile. Whereas you might put my Chinese king rat snake in front of someone that doesn't have much experience, and it might freak them out because of he's fast and he isn't afraid to bite you. But I think
Yeah.
it depends on the type of person, because I I love that snake. I love the temperament. I think it's quite. I mean, obviously, I try and not get bitten, but I think it's nice that he moves about and he's not just sat there. But depends on the person. Depends what you are looking for in a snake. I think there is no perfect snake for everybody. I think it's the same as monitors. There's no perfect monitor for everyone. It depends on what you want from that animal. They're not all the same. I mean, it also comes down to personality. You might have one royal that is completely
100%.
different to another. Same as monitors. You might have one monitor that's very docile and one that's not. But
Yeah.
species specifically, there's not one snake that's going to be perfect for everyone. And I think they are an amazing snake for someone that might enjoy a bit of a challenge to try and tame down. Someone think that's really brightly coloured, a bit fast, might be a little bit nippy. I think they are a good snake because they're not going to kill you. They're a decent size, but it depends on the person.
No, 100%. And sounds like you're very passionate about that said species. So, like you say, you've found a species for yourself, whereas half of the reptile people might, like for myself, for example, I think they're beautiful animals, but I probably would never own one. One, I'm a lizard guy, and two, like you say, they're probably a bit too. Well, I say that I've got a mangrove monitor, and my mangrove monitor will probably run rings around most snakes. How crazy they are, but for me, with a snake trying to bite, I'll be honest, if a snake tries to bite me, I get all like squeamish. I'm like, oh god, no, stay away from me. But then I've got a lizard charging at me. I'm like, oh cool, cuddles. So it's like you say, for us as keepers, it depends on your personality. Like I'll be bitten by a lizard, which is worse than a snake bite any day of the week. But if I've got a snake that wants to bite me, I'm like, nope, I don't want anything to do with you.
Honestly,
You can stay there. I'm not interested.
Look worse than they are 90% of the time. Obviously, if you have a massive emerald tree boa, it's probably going to feel worse than it looks. But with a lot of all the snakes that I keep and a lot of other species, I'd 100% say that sort of like a puppy bite is worse because they have a lot of the time they'll have more power. They have big teeth. These have little needle teeth. I mean, I know people are scared of needles, but they don't necessarily hurt. Like if you get a blood test, it doesn't hurt. It's not, you're not in agony. Like it's just a little nip. I think it's because it bleeds and it looks worse. People are scared of it, but I'd take a snake bite over any rodent bite. They've got horrible teeth that will just chew through you. The little snake bites are just little holes, little punctures. It's nothing. When they get bigger, it's slightly different, but smaller snakes, smaller species talking.
Yeah, I've been bitten a few times. I've been bitten by Burmese a couple of times. I've been bitten by an adder twice. One was a venomation, one wasn't. I've been bitten by obviously like corn snakes and royals and all that basic stuff. I've been bitten by that many a times. Been bitten by grass snakes 1,000 times. Probably the worst snake bite I ever had was a feeding response from a 7-foot berm. That was pretty bad.
Yeah,
because she held on and thought I was food. If it was just a quick love nip, I'd have been fine. But I'm fine with snake bites. It's just I prefer lizard bites.
Fair enough. I mean, it's what you're used to. It's in your comfort zone almost.
So, but on like snake bites and lizard bites, social media. I guess that's a sort of transition because everyone sort of, for example, spoiler, my next thumbnail for my next Tree Monitor Diaries is going to be a picture of little Kada biting me because obviously it gets clicks and it gets views.
100%.
So you're obviously trying to make something of yourself on social media, as am I.
Yeah.
What do you think the importance of social media in 2022 as a reptile breeder / influencer? How important do you think social media is for the hobby?
I think one, it's important for me to get out there because I think obviously, as I was saying earlier, I want to sort of try and bring up the standard of keeping reptiles. I want to push for that excellent welfare. I want to be doing the best for everything I can. Whereas I see a lot of people with pretty poor setups that I'm sure if they knew how to make it better, I'm sure they'd put in the effort. But I see a lot of enclosures that I'd change so much to. And I think that by having a big platform like that, I feel like in a way it is quite, I have to be very careful because people on the internet might take one thing for like gospel, which is not always right. Because I mean, I'm still learning every day. I'm still learning about different species, different ways of keeping species. I'm learning every day, and it's in a way I wanted to have my page to learn more as well. Same as you. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to get more into the hobby, and it just happened so that, I mean, I can't remember when the TikTok that I posted that went viral to begin with. I can't remember when I posted that, but it wasn't long. It was only a month or so after I made my accounts. So I was still very, very new to TikTok, especially. I mean, Instagram I'd had experience with before, but my pages both got made at the same time. Especially TikTok, that's where they blew up to begin with. I think with TikTok, it is more of, obviously on your podcast, you can talk in depth about different care and all different, a range of different things you can go in depth on. Whereas on TikTok, I had to look into the algorithm a lot to sort of boost my views, try and get up there. And if I posted a 5-minute long video on TikTok about the care and husbandry of an animal and how to do better for your animal, it would get about 10 views because it doesn't fit into the algorithm, which sort of sucks a little bit. So I've sort of used TikTok as a way to boost my views because it's got such a good, well, it has a very, very good organic reach. So I use little short clips most of the time. Sometimes I will put something informational up, but it often does worse than the short little 5-second clips that I put no effort into. And I'm sort of using that as a way to gain a bigger audience so people can follow me in what I do. If they go over to my Instagram, I have a little bit more information on there, but I'm hopefully going to be I'm in the process of having a website built. So hopefully when that's up, that will have a bit more about me and possibly about different husbandry aspects of keeping, stuff like that. I wanted to use TikTok as a way to bring people in, I want to catch as many eyes as I can and bring them in to what I have on other socials with more information. I think TikTok isn't the best for sort of care guides and stuff like YouTube would be, but it's good to catch eyes and bring people to your other platforms. Eventually, I would love to make informational YouTube content when I have more time. Once everything's set up, when I've got more time, I'd like to make some informational videos and tips and stuff like that. I'd love to do that, but that's not right for TikTok. It's just the algorithm, it doesn't fit the algorithm properly. I think it's important to have my TikTok page because it brings people in, but other than that, I think the other social media platforms would be better for me to sort of expand on husbandry, expand on different species and why they're okay, like why they're good pets and why some are not good pets and what's best for you. I want to sort of, in a way, help people find a reptile that's good for them because I quite strongly believe that there is enough species alone in the market today, like the reptile market today, for everyone because there's such a range. I mean, I know with sort of dogs, you have some dogs that would be good for one person that might have, I don't know, a lot of time on their hands, that's very energetic, that needs lots of walks. That might be good for one person, but for someone else, it might be too energetic, and they might not be able to walk it as much. For example, like an old person might want a more lazy dog that doesn't move as much. Which is that sort of gradient of a range of different species that fit into everyone's categories. I think that if everyone gave reptiles a chance, I think a lot more people would have a reptile because there's a reptile for most people, but people don't know that because they don't give them the chance. So I'm trying to push it out there. I want people to know that there's the right species for them.
Yeah, no, I agree massively with that. I was very much a victim to the hobby when I was probably your age, a little bit older. Um, Not that I'm old now, but 10, 12 years ago. I had pretty much everything. I had 100 pets, and I think I had 70 species. I think, um, and only one of which was a varanid, which was a Bosque monitor. Um, but monitors have always been my thing. But because social media would lead you to believe monitors are this status quo of the best reptile keepers, and which they are, I'm not taking away from it, but everyone was like, you have to be the best of the best to get in. Um, so I never thought I was good enough until one day I just thought, you know what, F it, I can't be bothered to listen to social media. I'm just going to get monitors. Um, Mine are all doing great, and it's only when I actually listened to myself about what I wanted, and I didn't fill these holes of all these different species. Because, like you say, everyone's going to have their niche, and it's hard because you won't find it until you keep X amount of animals to find that this one's your said one. Like for me, it's monitors. Um,
Yeah.
but if I continue to listen to external influences, it's a double edged sword because on one hand, I wouldn't recommend 90% of Varanas as your very first reptile, but on the other hand, I would recommend pretty much every single Varanid to the right person at the right time with the right, like we said
Exactly.
earlier. But
Exactly.
most monitor people, and I'm assuming the same with, I'm not really in any other pockets, but like chameleon people, for example, if I don't get a chameleon, they'll just die. You have to have everything perfect. And for the most part, for certain species, you do, but that's the same with every animal. If you haven't got your parameters correct, unless you've got something like a corn snake or a
They're
rat
just
snake of some
ridiculous.
degree, yeah,
Yeah,
they're just hard and they can take hot and cold, whereas some
yeah,
species can't. Um,
much more
and that's why I
sensitive.
get you have your beginner reptiles. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
do understand the sort of hierarchy of different species being different levels of experience, but at the end of the day, I think if you went through all the different stages of, oh, this is a beginner reptile, this is a slightly more experienced, this is slightly more experienced, this is a intermediate, this is experienced, this is highly experienced, you're going to end up with a lot of animals that you don't want. There are a lot of animals that you never wanted to
yeah,
keep. So I think that if you if you've got if you've done the research and you've got the space and you've got the time and you've done enough research, you have the right knowledge, you know what you're talking about. If you've talked to other keepers that have the animals that the species that you want, if you ask them questions, talk to them, get their opinion, I don't see why you shouldn't get the one you want. Obviously, within reason. Don't go and buy a Komodo dragon because you've watched a YouTube
yeah,
video. But
yeah, yeah,
as long as you are
yeah,
prepared for it and you are being sensible, you know that you can look after this animal. I definitely recommend speaking to other people that keep the animals well because I mean, you can watch some YouTube videos, but you need like a variety of because it can go down to personality. I mean, for example, some animals in one species like bearded dragons, you might have one bearded dragon that's really chill, and I've worked with some that are not chill at all, and you can put your hand in there and they'll bite you. It's rare, but it happens, and
yeah,
you might watch a
yeah,
video with someone that has a very very calm varanid, and then you might think, oh, that's really chill, I could look after that, I could provide the right care for that, and then
yeah,
your one might not be like that, and you just got to make sure you have you sort of double, more than double. You just look in as many different places you can. It's just down to research, really, isn't it? It's just do as much research as you
yeah,
can, plus more.
yeah.
Just make
Don't
sure
just
you're
rush
prepared.
into it. Make sure you spend 6 to 12 months at least, and
Yeah,
ideally, if you can, find someone who has the animal and actually go there and interact with it rather than. I
yeah,
agree with you speaking to them because,
absolutely.
yeah, find someone who's close or even just a pet shop. Most good reptile shops will give you the time of day as long as you're not
Yeah,
a complete idiot. If you know, like you say, you've done your research and you know what you're talking about, and you go, look, I want to get a tree monitor. Um, but I've never had a pet before. I've spent 6 months researching. I've spoken to 15 breeders.
Yeah,
Have you got a tree monitor in that I could possibly interact with? Maybe even just feed it. I'd clean its cage for you for
yeah, yeah.
free, and just to sort of earn your
I like
stripes.
that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can come
exactly. But
as
it's good.
close as you want.
But
Yeah, I've got.
it's good.
Yeah. Plus, I think that's nice as well. I mean, if anyone, obviously within reason, people, I think people would like to do that as well. I think if you are genuine enough and you want to go and help this person look after their animal because you want to gain experience, then I don't see why they would say no. And unless you know, I don't think there is a reason why they would say no. You're offering to
No, exactly.
help them out in exchange for a little bit of experience because you're interested in an animal that they keep. If they say no, then that's a bit strange, a bit dodgy.
Yeah, like I say, as long as you're not, if you're coming in there and you go, I don't even know how to spell its name, but I want to keep it, then I mean
Exactly.
I'm dyslexic myself, so spelling's a bad example. But if you have no idea and you go, oh, I've come to clean out your Nile Monitor, but if you go, look, I know it's this, I know they're this big, I know they eat this, I know their minimum like enclosure size is this, I know males get this big, girls get this big, blah 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 blah. Um, then
Can
yeah, there's
prove
no reason
what
you
you're
shouldn't.
doing.
Yeah, yeah, and then on the subject of beginner, intermediate, and experienced species, obviously you've started your very own breeding facility very well at the very early stages. So,
Yeah.
what species are you planning on actually breeding, and why?
So right, I mean, I have quite a few species in here. I mean, I ended up rehoming a lot of them, as I said earlier, just through I'm gonna try and find them a new home. However, a couple of species that I do want to eventually breed, I would absolutely love to find Wilson a girlfriend eventually because he has the het snow gene. So I want to breed him with another het snow female. Only issue is I cannot find one. So I think I will end up having to. I'm gonna have to dig very deep, or even import because there's none around. And I think that this, if for anyone doesn't know, the snow or blizzard gene iguanas are just almost like a pure white iguana, and I think they look stunning. And I mean, even the ones that don't come out as snow, they're going to be axanthics, so like a bright blue iguana. And I think that I probably wouldn't breed him much, but I do want to just prove out that snow gene and have that because I think it'd be an amazing experience for me. And I think being able to sell on some little pure white iguanas, I don't think iguanas can lay quite a few eggs. So I don't think there's enough people in the UK that could provide a good enough setup for that iguana to sell all of them here. So I think I would have to branch out and possibly export to different countries. Not too far. I don't want to do that, but maybe to France, Germany. Germany has, I'm pretty sure they have a very good reptile industry over there, and they are very ahead of us in the terms of that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'd love to breed Wilson eventually for that reason. I really want to breed Jax, the Chinese king rat snake, just because I don't see many of them around. I think they're an amazing species. They probably don't. They definitely don't fit under that category of a beginner reptile. But I think that anyone that has seen them, anyone that likes that style of snake, like something that's not gonna, they're very energetic in a way. They move a lot. They never sit still. Well, Marlon doesn't. I know that for a fact. They're known for being a little bit feisty, a little bit spicy, but like me, some people like that. I mean, some people might think that's strange, but I think that's part of the fun of working with animals like that. Um, so I want to breed him. You actually showed me someone that also breeds them. Proven female was little bit pricey, but I am considering it because I don't see them much. So I'm hoping to get some little Elafi babies eventually.
that'd
Up
be
the top
cool.
here, Fallon, the true Reptile Suriname boa, I absolutely 100% want to breed her when she's mature. Again, possibly not all the time, because for the same reason I wouldn't want to breed a bearded dragon. I wouldn't want to breed a bearded dragon because there's already loads out there that need rehoming. Rehome a bearded dragon. Don't. I mean, unless you are going for like a specific morph or breed or whatever, rehome a bearded dragon. There's loads that need rehoming. I don't want to produce lots of boas. Not many people can house a 10-foot snake, so I wouldn't breed her all the time. I definitely want to produce some babies though. Possibly, I'd like to sell some on. So she's another that I'd love to breed. She's amazing colours. BCC boa, definitely a breeder. I also originally I wanted to breed a couple of tarantula species, but for the same reason, you have an egg sac with lots of spiderlings that you got to find a lot of people to be buying them, and I think it's there's a lot of people that already breed spiders. I'm looking to find something new. I want to bring something new to the table, which is why a Knowles, or one of the other species I want to get. I've not got any currently, but I 100% want to breed some Knowles. Species-wise, I've not decided which species I definitely want, but I had a video call with Herptime. I don't know who would know of him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him. Yeah. I don't know him, but I've seen his channel.
He's got the most beautiful Knowles I've ever seen. He's got so many different species. His facility is massive. He's got heaps of space, and he has loads of Knowles, loads of little babies always popping out eggs. And he's got so many different species. I'd love to keep all of them if I could, but I'm going to have to decide on a few species that I think would be amazing over here in the UK. I think that would really catch some eyes. People would like. So a lot of these Knowles species all live under the same eating, light and requirements, sort of same setup. Some slightly bigger, some slightly smaller, but similar requirements. So I think that would be quite a good species to be able to produce. Alongside the Knowles, I've dreamed of having a Tokay for a long time. I don't know whether I'm going to breed them. I'd love to. That might just be a great pet for me. I'd love to breed them. I saw a little while ago. There's a couple of different morphs coming out of Tokay, and I'd love to breed some different morphs. However, I would love just the standard blue Tokay. They're amazing. I've seen some melanistic ones that look amazing as well. So yeah, definitely some Tokays eventually.
Yeah, Tokays are sick.
Yeah, I love the little barks they give as well. It's amazing. Which is why I think I'd want to keep them here and not in my.
They've got a hella bite.
Oh yeah, they do. But I mean, for example, what's his name? Reptiliatus. I never know.
Yeah, Reptiliatus. Dion. Yeah, Dion. Yeah.
It's so tame. I couldn't believe it when I saw it for the first time. I've never seen a Tokay that tame. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's like a wizard. He seems to tame everything.
I know. Insane. I might send Jax off to him for a week or so. Other species.
He tames everything.
I know. It's insane. Other species I have currently.
Sounds like you're going to have a massive eclectic collection. Sounds like you're going to have a very, very diverse reptile facility.
I think eventually I can see myself going into strictly arboreal species. I love the enclosure setups for arboreal species. I just love that, and I'd love to do. I've ordered a lot of my bioactive equipment, all my substrates, clay, hydro balls, everything's all just turned up. So I'm going to start putting everything bioactive. I want to have almost completely bioactive, not Wilson because he'll just rip up the plants, not the boa because she'll just crush all the plants. But some of my smaller species, I want to have them bioactive. I think it's a good way to keep them. I think increases humidity for species that need high humidity. it's just like a mini ecosystem. I think I mean, I really like it, and I think it looks nice. It's functional. Springtail's isopod to clean
Yeah.
your crew. I really like it. So I think that's where I'm going to go. A boreal bioactive species eventually, but who knows? I might do a couple and think they're not for me, which is why I have such a range of species at the minute, because I'm not sure what I will eventually settle down on. But that's my guess. That's my guess. And
it's hard to know what your forever species will be. I consider myself lucky that I found it, because a lot of people don't.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing about anoles as well, there's not many. Whenever I go into reptile shops, I don't go into them a whole lot, but whenever I do, you generally see the green and brown anoles. They've been around forever. You don't often see a lot of the species that Herptime keeps, so I want to bring them over here. I mean, I'm sure there's people that have got the species that he's got, but I rarely see them, and I want to show people these amazing little lizards that come in all these different colours and patterns that all live under the same sort of temperature, humidity requirements, lighting, and be able to say, look, this is the setup that you want. If they're looking for a certain size enclosure, anoles, you can have tiny little diddy ones, you can have slightly big ones, blue beauty anoles. They will cost you, I think it was $2,500 each. Yeah, so yeah, you're going to have to start selling organs if you want to breed a couple of them. So I'd love to, but they are a little bit out of the price range at the minute. So, but eventually I'd love to. Yeah, they're also good for cohabbing as well. Very good.
Yeah, I think Anolis, as well as Abronia and other gecko species like Europlatus and stuff like that, I think they're going to become the staple, because the energy crisis at the moment, obviously, keeping stuff like I keep that has two 150 watt, like in my Bungie Monitor enclosure, two 150 watt bulbs, 54 watt LED, 20 watt flood LED, and a 54 watt UVB, 20 watt flood. I'm looking at it now. 20 watt flood LED, and then a 30 watt flood LED. So all of that's on 14 hours a day. Yeah, me too. But yeah, that's the thing. If you had Anolis, you can
energy wise.
Yeah, I think the problem is as well, most people that chase money will see a gap in the market, and they will get all of this stuff, whether that be Abronia or leopard geckos or whatever the case may be, tokyo geckos, whatever the case may be. That's only because we were just speaking about them. But then in 2 years' time, all the stuff that's being bred now, for example, like Aki monitors, I'm thinking about slowing. I'm not going to sell my Akis, but I'm thinking about slowing down breeding them, purely because it's not ethical, because there's so many out there. But in 2 or 3 years' time, when everyone's breeding anoles or everyone's breeding, the Akis disappear. So that's the problem with the hobby. There, everything goes full circle, and then everyone wants to jump back on Akis, because all of a sudden Akis are the ones that make money.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like the fact that it's in trends. That's what I don't like. But what can you do? I mean,
you've got to have passion first.
I just hope that people won't drop their current species into rehoming just because they want something else. I hope that when people were buying an animal, they think, oh yes, this is what I want. I'm willing to keep this until one day it passes. I want to be able to be this lifelong owner. Which, I mean, it is a little bit hypocritical because of what I'm doing, where I've taken on these animals and I'm putting them back out there. But obviously, I didn't buy them to be pets for myself, as much as I'd love to keep them all as my pets. But it's impossible. It's impossible. I'm just trying to find them a new home.
Yes.
Whereas it's slightly different, you see.
It's hard towing a line, because, like, for me personally, it's passion and pets first, but I am a breeder. I do breed, so there's no point in lying and say I don't do it for money, because I wouldn't breed Akis for any other reason. I breed them to make. I've produced like 60 babies, and I'll be honest, I haven't made a penny. But I I am doing it for money, and like I'm trying to breed Timor monitors, and that will be financial gain. And I'm one day
Oh, yeah.
hoping to breed mangrove monitors, and that's not for financial gain. That's just for same as Timors. The fact that there's none around, and I want to breed them so they don't disappear. But
Yeah, 100%.
there is also the financial incentive. There's no point in lying. Anyone that says they're doing
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
like
that's the
I'm
thing.
doing it because I enjoy it, passion first, but the money comes into it.
That's
So
exactly it. I mean,
you have
if
to, yeah,
yeah, if I didn't do this because I wanted to make a profit, why would I? You know what I mean? If I didn't want to make money, I would. It'd be a waste of my time. I wouldn't earn any money. I wouldn't. I'd have to get a. I'd have to. If I can't turn this passion into a job, then it would stay as a hobby, and I would have to have. It's. The
yeah, you'd be
reason.
like me and have a regular
Yeah,
job to pay for the shit.
that's the
Yeah,
thing. I mean, yeah. Well, you want to earn money. Everyone would love to earn money doing their passion. That's the aim of life. If you can have a
yes,
job that you love and it doesn't feel like a job, then you're
yeah,
earning money to do what you love doing, which is that's everyone would love to do that. So that's what I'm aiming for. I mean,
yeah.
who knows where I'll be in 10 years, but this is what I'm aiming for.
No, good for you. I think anyone that breeds reptiles, for example, I can hand on heart say I don't breed reptiles for money, but money is an incentive.
Oh,
If you
100%.
don't
Yeah.
acknowledge that, then you're lying to yourself. For me, for example, when the apocalypse hits and everyone is keeping cool climate species, I will stay true to my monitors because my monitors are my thing.
It's what you love.
Um,
Yeah.
and then in years to come, if they don't come back, they don't come back. Like the way I see my reptile, I suppose collection. I don't really like that word, but my reptile collection.
Well, yeah.
There's two animals. Yeah, there's two animals in my collection that I could put a monetary figure on, which is my bearded
Yeah.
dragon and my corn snake. Um, the rest I don't have a monetary figure on, and that's how I know they're for me. So, like, if someone said to me, oh, "I don't have a dog," but if someone said to me, "How much for your dog?" or any family, they wouldn't be able to sell their dog. But if
Yeah.
someone said to most people, "I will give you £1,000 for your corn snake," most reptile people would go, "Okay, of course."
Yeah.
But I've been offered £1,000 for my mangrove monitor. I paid £300 for her. She's worth more than that now, but I paid
Yeah.
£300 for her. I've been offered £1,000 for her from a serious buyer,
Really.
and I said nah. I was like not even no. I was like I reckon I wouldn't take 50 grand for her because
Yeah.
she means so. It's same as my baby tree monitor. I brought it from a really good friend like Matt Hill. He's a great breeder. He's a great guy, so that means a lot as well. The fact that one, I'm able to support him, and two, like I know where it's come from. But I wouldn't sell that animal. You couldn't give me 50 grand for that animal. Like, and I've only had it literally not even a week yet. But you couldn't give me 50 grand for that animal. I just love it so much, and there's no point of even trying to talk about money because
And
I've got her. Like I don't even know if she's. Yeah,
that's why I want to be able to produce animals that people want like that. I want people to be able to. That's what I mean. I want to produce some animals that people haven't seen before that they will see and they will be fixated on, and they will not give this away for anything. They want to give it the best. That's what I'm aiming for. And yeah, exactly. You've got this monitor that you wouldn't take any amount of money
no,
for because that's what you
no.
love. And I want to be able to spark that in someone. I want someone to see an animal that I keep and be like, I want that, and I want people to have that sort of connection to the animals that I'm selling them.
Yeah, it's in my personal life outside of reptiles, I'm really into spirituality. So it's for me, it's quite easy to make that connection between
Yeah,
like man and beast as such. But like for the sense, I've wanted tree monitors since I was 7 when I first saw them in Reptile magazine. So for 21 years, I've wanted tree monitors, and now I have 3.
dream come
Um,
true.
I have 2 boys and a baby. Yeah, exactly. But this is the thing. Like, probably my advice to you slash anyone listening to this who wants to breed. I got very caught up in breeding. I'll be honest. So in 2020, I got the opportunity to buy a pair of tree. Well, I didn't buy a pair, but I brought a boy. No, sorry, I brought a girl, and then literally a month later, the stars aligned, and I brought a boy. I had them housed separately for 6 months. And I was like, right, I'll introduce them. I introduced them. They started breeding. The female looked like she was going through fertiligenesis, blah, 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 blah. Everything was as expected. I was like, oh my God, dream come true. I wanted to breed treatment. Blah, 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 blah. Came home one day from work and the female was locked with the male, which isn't uncommon. It can happen, but there was a hemipene just sticking out. And I was like, whose is that? And then I watched the hemipene retract into my female's cloaca, meaning I have 2 boys. And what had happened was my female, who's actually a male, was just being a subordinate male, like when sometimes male lions don't grow manes. So she didn't develop hemipenal bulges. But then I was very much like, oh no, I need to get a girl, I need to get a girl, I need to breed, I need to breed, I need to breed, forgetting my passion. And then I had that reality check when I had the opportunity to buy a girl, and it fell through. I won't get into it on here, but it fell through. And I had that realization. It's like, do you know what? 7-year-old me would have been so happy. So it's been 2 years down the line now, and now I've brought the baby. I won't know the sex of the baby guaranteed for at least a year. This baby could be a boy, and if it is, then I've got 3 boys. But if it's a girl, then I still won't be able to breed it for another 2 to 3 years on top of the year old, because I won't breed her until she's at least 3. So I've got a 5-year plan to maybe produce tree monitors, but that's why you have to put passion first, because if you get so caught up in breeding for money, you'll always, or no matter who you are, I don't care who you are, eventually you'll come unstuck and you'll fail. You have to find your species. And I don't discredit you because I did it, and I don't discredit anyone who doesn't know what their species is yet, because you have to find it, and it's hard to find it without keeping it. And for me, like I say, I went through every reptile, and I had to get rid of all of them because I got divorced. So I had to move back in with my parents, so all of mine had to be rehomed in a hurry. Like we spoke about at the start, I just had to get rid of them. And some, I'll be honest, some probably didn't go to the best of homes because I had a week to rehome 100 animals. So yeah, it's hard because you don't know where life's going to take you, and you don't know what your things are. And then when I got back into keeping, it was very easy for me to go, oh, I could get this. And I really like tokay geckos. I think tokay geckos are amazing. And I really like gecko smithy, so the green-eyed geckos. I really like those. And I really like Europlatus. And I really like boiga. And I really like silly stuff like scolopendra. And I really like stuff like frogs. But then I'm like, no, just stay true. Just stay on your path. Passion first. And the rest will come. So that would probably be my advice to you and your breeding facility: is find your passion and then stick to it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm hoping that
would be my advice.
Keeping a range of different species, I'll find what's best for me, what sells best, what people love. Because it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, I love that, I love that, I love that, I love that, I love that. But overall, what would do best for me to breed? Because I don't want to breed an animal over and over again and then not be able to find people that are interested in that species. I might be really interested in it, but it is about what other people like as well, because I'm going to have to find something that both I love and that other people love, so I can breed and share that with other people, because it's pointless me finding something that I really love that everyone else thinks is like not for them, because then I'm going to be
in the sense of breeding, in the sense of breeding, that is, I agree, it is pointless.
In the sense of having a pet, then whatever that's the thing. That's the thing with the tokays. I don't know whether I'm gonna. Well, actually, with Wilson, with the iguana, I might try and breed him once or twice, but I don't think I'm going to be able to find enough homes for that many iguanas to be breeding him constantly. So I think it will be more of like an experience for me. I mean, if I manage to breed him and sell the offspring, it will be amazing, because I'd love to be able to do that. I mean, that's amazing. But if not, I just love keeping him. He's amazing. I put photos on him, put photos of him on my Instagram, videos of him on my TikTok. Everyone loves him. Everyone loves Wilson. He's probably the fan favorite. So I just love keeping him. It's an amazing experience. But it's finding what other people like too. At the end of the day, I am trying to make a living out of something that I love doing, and I would love to be able to live working with reptiles in any way possible. So it's a win for me either way. I just got to find what's best.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's it's admirable that you're chasing dreams because I know a lot of people are stuck in a 9 to 5, myself included, um, hating their 9 to 5, and I only do
Yeah, I
it
mean,
just to pay for these reptiles.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
So
I mean, at the minute, I'm not making anything. I'm trying to set up. So obviously, I've got to work. I've got to be able to provide for these animals. I've got to be able to keep them. I've got to be able to give them a nice enclosure. I'm not gonna go crazy and buy everything in if I can't afford to keep the stuff I have originally. Like I'm welfare first before anything, and then obviously
yeah,
I want to make money doing what I love. So I mean, I'm not ashamed. Yeah, I'm in it to be able to make money from what essentially is
no,
my
good,
hobby. So it's a hobby first, but at the second, it
yeah,
is.
good for you.
I'm
No,
trying to turn it into a business idea. Yeah,
yeah, no, I don't think you have to justify it. I think just being honest and going, "Do you know what, I am doing this for money. Like, I do love these animals. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I can see your passion. I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
anyone who's watching can see how passionate you are. That there's no denying that. But having the humility to be able to go, do you know what? Yeah, I want to make money from this. This is what I
yeah,
want to become my job. Yeah. So I think the problem I have with people that go, oh no, 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 I don't want to do this for this, and I don't want to do, and then they're just lying to themselves and everyone else. What I like about you is the authenticity of your character, because I can tell you're passionate. This is the first time, obviously, we've spoken in person. We've
yeah,
messaged
yeah,
backwards and forwards, but I
yeah,
can see and tell your passion for reptiles,
yeah,
um, especially Wilson. Because as soon as we mentioned Wilson, your face just lit up, and you were like, "Yeah,
yeah,
Wilson's my boy." So
absolutely.
Wilson
Yeah.
for you is like my mango, my indicus. So
Yes,
like it's
yeah,
good. It's great because I can sit here doing my podcast, and she's literally just found a roach in the soil, and she's just dug it out, and she's I've literally just been watching her like, and now she's trying to get back out again, bit bloody bitch. But yeah, that's what I mean. I can see your passion, and I think your honesty is it's a credit to you and your character because you're only young. So when you get to my age in 10 years' time, you'll have learned so many valuable lessons through your truth and your honesty and your passion. And hopefully by then, like you say, you'll be in a place where you go, right, X is where I'm at. X is what I want to breed. I have Wilson as my pet. I've bred him once. No, not for me because it's good that you've got the what's the word, self awareness that these animals aren't just for money in the sense of, yeah, snow iguanas I'm sure go for a pretty penny, but if you can't house them or you're going to be
yeah,
selling them to rubbish homes because there's only, off the top of my head, 20 people in the UK that can house them,
yeah, yeah,
then good for you for knowing that. So it's good for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
that's the thing. Well, I
but
mean,
I
it's it's pointless. You know, if I bred Wilson every breeding season and I produced all these iguanas, and then I've got only a few people that can take them. I mean, a few good homes that can take them. Then I've got, I don't know, 60 iguanas that I've got to house and look after, and that's just not possible. I don't care unless you're
no,
in Florida and you have like 1,200 acres of land and 300 workers. There's not a chance.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
you just need to get yourself a monitor lizard so you can feed off the eggs instead of incubating them.
yeah,
Incubate half, then feed off the other half to a
yeah.
monitor.
Well, I mean,
That'd be
the
your problem solved.
Chinese king rat snake. I need to. I'm pretty sure I was told that he can eat eggs as well. So I mean,
It wouldn't
if
surprise
I
me.
do
Yeah, probably can.
exactly, I mean, in that stage of being an egg, I'd rather have people. You know, I'd rather. At the end of the day, I don't want to be selling eggs to people because if then I don't know, I have a power cut and all my eggs fail and they'll die or whatever. I don't want to have people that were expecting something from me that I can't provide. But on the other hand, if I don't know produce a few and then I don't know I have some eggs from the next lot that I think oh okay these are not going to sell, I'd much rather make use of them eggs being eggs rather than have them hatch and then have iguanas that
100%.
are going to go to bad homes or not going to have homes. You know what I mean? Going to go into rehoming like
No, no, I know what you
the
mean.
millions of bearded dragons that are, you know, I wouldn't want that for anything. I mean, no, I mean, rehoming places are good,
No,
but
I know what you mean.
they're temporary. They're supposed to be temporary for the animal, so it's you know, just got to be mindful of what I'm breeding. If there's enough people that can house what I'm breeding, for example, a dream animal of mine is a hypo Burmese python. I love the color on them. I love the size of them. I'd love to have a massive snake that's like 20 plus foot long. That I'd love it. But
Yeah.
for me, to keep one of them at the moment would cost me a lot of money to build an enclosure, a lot of money to feed, a lot of money to buy, and heating as well. It's a lot of money, and I would not want to breed
Yeah.
that Burmese python just because. I mean, there's breeders out there that probably, they probably managed to sell all of their offspring, but I don't think there's that many people in the UK that can look after them properly. And there's already breeders that breed them, so I think that it's just going to end up in a surplus of 20-foot snakes that don't have homes, which is not what I want.
Yeah, no, I agree. I used to have a Burmese. I'll be honest, I had a pair. I'd never bred them, but I had a pair. I had Princess, who she was 3 at the time of rehoming her when I got divorced. She was an albino. She was 14 and a half foot long, and I had her from 10 days old. She was 14 and a half foot long, and she was only 3 years old, so she would have been fucking big. She would have been a big snake.
Absolutely
Um,
monstrous.
yeah, she was a pup. She was a sweetheart, and I had her in an 8x4x4 enclosure. Most people keep Burms in 6x2x2s or 8x2x2. I had her in an 8x4x4, and she was four. I had her in there from 10 foot, and she was 14 and a half foot when I had to rehome her.
Yeah.
And when she was called up in the corner, I was like, "This enclosure is huge." But when she was slithering around, I was like, "This enclosure is absolutely tiny." Like, I feel so sorry for her. So yeah, I don't envy people trying to house snakes like that, because you'd have to have
That's
like my entire flat just for one snake.
exactly there for
Yeah,
zoos that can have that sort
yeah,
of space
yeah,
for I mean, that's another thing. Like, I will be eventually having, because I absolutely want to breed her. I've got to find her a boyfriend, which is going to be a bit of a pain because I've seen 2 on Morph Market in the UK, and they're both females as well. So, I mean,
yeah.
I'd love
Nightmare.
to get a male, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge. And when I do, I would like to breed her, but it's going to be producing lots of. I mean, boas give birth to up to 50 young, and I mean that's from a massive boa, obviously. But I will be. I don't like how. For me, I could never keep a snake in a rack for its whole life. I want to completely. I'd love to get that gone out of the reptile keeping hobby. That's not right. I think if it's a temporary, if you have bred some babies, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a little rack system for the little babies, for a bit of kitchen roll to monitor them, and for the first couple of feeds before they sell. I think that's obviously, yeah, I'd love to put all these babies in their own vivs and everything, but for the sake of a couple of weeks to a month where I'm trying to sell them on, I think that's okay. But I want to have high standards. So anything that I don't see how people
Yeah,
can keep snakes. I mean, in a rack is very, very. That's. I don't think anything should live in a rack, but small enclosures as well. I think that's better than a rack, but I often see snakes that are and lizards, especially lizards as well, that have nowhere near enough space. It's like they can't even extend out fully. I mean,
yeah,
these royals behind me and the boa. Obviously, the boa is going to be about 10 foot, so I'm going to have her a huge enclosure that she can thrive in, rather than just being curled up, sat there dormant, not being able to move. But yeah, I mean, even the royals are going to be going in bigger setups than this, because I just think when people say that royal pythons are happy in a drawer, basically, no proper heating, no proper lighting, and
yeah.
there's nowhere to climb. The royal pythons don't climb, but I mean, they absolutely do. There's no doubt about it. They will climb everywhere and anywhere. They possibly climb too much. I mean, I'm definitely against all of that. I think the bigger the better. I know there's definitely a lot of websites and pages that will say, oh yeah, this is the size enclosure you need for this species, but that's the minimum size, and I don't think that that's what people should aim for. I think people will see an enclosure size and think, oh yeah, I can have that. I think people should see the enclosure size of that is the bare minimum. I want to have slightly bigger than that, slightly taller than that. I want to have something extravagant. I want people to have pride in not only their animal, but I want people to take pride in their enclosures and have their enclosures look amazing. When I see an enclosure online that is, you see some insane enclosures online, and it is inspiring. And I think that people should really sort of take pride in the enclosure, because I mean, the snake or lizard might look beautiful, but how much better would it look if it was in an amazing, grand enclosure with loads of enrichment, loads of climbing places, loads of hiding places? I think it just adds whole experience of keeping a reptile. I think if you have a leopard gecko in a box with 2 little plastic hides and a water dish, I think you're going to get bored of that leopard gecko because it's just going to sit under its hide because it has nothing else to do. If you have a nice big enclosure with loads of climbing, loads of nice bits of substrate, lots of hides, lots of climbing, you're less likely to get bored of that leopard gecko because they're going to be more active. They're going to have enrichment. They're going to want to explore. They're going to thrive in their environment, rather than just surviving in a box.
No, I agree. I found this recently. I don't think any of my enclosures are particularly bad, but I set up my new enclosure for my baby tree monitor Cada, and I decked it right out, gone to town on it. It cost me like £700 the whole setup. And I built a waterfall, and it was my first attempt at building a waterfall, and it looks amazing for me and my standards. It looks amazing, and I look at all my other enclosures and I go, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Even though none of mine are bad, but I look at what I can do, and then I go, oh, and all my other lizards are probably thinking, Jesus Christ, this new kid on the block's got the best house on the market, and we've all got these rubbish shanty vivs.
But I definitely agree with that. I think people should stop thinking that the bare minimum is enough, because you can obviously the enclosure sizes that are given on websites, they are enough for that species, but why not go bigger? I mean, that's the thing. You said that your new tree monitor has got this massive enclosure. Why not? I mean, obviously within reason. You don't want to put a tiny little hatchling into a massive enclosure.
I did, and I don't see it. And I did. Really? I generally did. This is the problem. Most people recommend, well, depending on what you're talking to, the breeder Matt recommends that you put the babies in a 3 foot long by 3 foot tall by 18-inch deep. So the biggest Exoterra you can buy. But Cada, so she generally is as big as my finger. Like, she obviously tail's longer, but her head and body, she's that big. I've got her in a 4 foot by 3 and a bit foot by 2 foot deep. And generally, sometimes you can't see her. I bet she. But why not? Why not? She will. I mean, if you watch my first video, she was running around like crazy, jumping, and like the breeder Matt was like, I can't believe it. It's so exciting to see one of my animals, because he's the same as myself. He loves it. Excuse me. Yeah. He was like, this is so great to see her jumping around. And I watched her drink from the waterfall 2 or 3 days ago, and I was like, oh my god, Cada, you're drinking from your water. And it was just like creating a good environment for your captive, for me, and having that level of inspiration and creativity is one of the best, if not the best, part of keeping reptiles.
100%. Yeah, I love. I mean, I've always loved I did art GCSE. I know that sounds like whatever, but I do like.
No, I know what you mean. No, I know what you mean.
I love the creative side of things. I love setting up a new enclosure. It's the most exciting thing. You have all these different hides and different, branches and twigs and all sorts ready to go in this enclosure, and it's like there's endless possibilities of sort of tunnels you can make and sort of climbing structures that you can build, and I think that's really cool. I think, I think a way to look at it is, I want to build an enclosure that I think, yeah, I'd live in that. I want to be able to
I know what
provide
you mean.
something that looks amazing.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I'm in the process of moving / trying to find a house
Yeah,
to move. And when I move, everyone's being upgraded, regardless if they need to be or not. But as and when I can afford it, everyone will be upgraded. My mangrove's gonna have a walk-in. She's gonna have a 6x6x6. It won't be on the outside. It won't be the prettiest thing in the world because I'm just gonna build it myself. But she's only 2.5 foot long total length. So for
be
her
like
to
a
be in a
mansion.
6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot, yeah, exactly. But why not? Like why
Exactly.
not?
Yeah.
So we're trying.
I
It's
mean,
quite hard because we're trying to find
yeah,
a place with space so I can do all this, because I have so many lizards, and as much as I could move into a smaller house and have them as they are now, which is in some situations I would argue
yeah,
that I'm bare minimum. Um, so yeah, but I'm similar to yourself. I want to push husbandry, and as long as you're not stagnating and you're constantly growing, then you're not a bad keeper. As long as you'll
oh
keep
yeah,
willing to change to benefit your
yeah.
captive.
I think a stubborn keeper is a bad keeper. As if you're not willing to be open-minded and listen to different opinions on keeping, I think that's what makes a bad keeper, because then you're never going to learn about your animals. Because yeah, I know you might argue that you know the most about your animals because you own them, but that's not always true, because it's like there's so many different sort of um, factors that can affect it. Like even just speaking to other keepers that keep the same species as you. I mean, even if they're not widely broadcasted, they might have little tricks and tips that they've discovered themselves. And I think being open minded and listening to other keepers and how they keep and what they think is best is good, because there's always ways to improve the way you're keeping, and that's definite. There's no way you can have the perfect setup. I think that you can always do better. 100%.
No, 100%, and that brings us nicely, because we have been talking for an hour and 42 minutes now,
Wow.
to my wrap up questions.
Right.
So hopefully people have found value in this, and we will have you back for round 2, because I'm sure everyone watching can tell that you've got a lot more to say, which is good, because I always like to listen. Before we have wrap up questions, is there anything you would like to touch on / ask me before I give you the 2 last wrap up questions?
I think I want to just ask you, with because obviously I see obviously the massive enclosure behind you. When you move into your new house, are you gonna? I know obviously with monitors they can be quite destructive. Would you ever try any
Yeah.
bioactive setups with the monitors at all? Do you reckon?
Um. So
What are your
my
opinions on?
setups. So all of my setups have isopods, and I mean I'm gonna make horrible noise, but bear with me. Oh.
Good.
All of my enclosures have isopod.
Yeah. Oh, I'm currently sitting on a log with a towel on it, because I don't have a chair here, and it's not the most comfortable thing ever. I'm not gonna lie. Just gotta stand up for a second. Jesus, that is not comfortable at all. Damn.
I think my camera's focusing on it. Let me try another one.
Oh my god! Wait,
That's a bit better.
hang on. Has she pushed the vent off?
Yeah,
Oh my
that's it.
god! We've got a snake that's pushed the vent off again.
Nice.
How would you do that?
But I'll rant on bioactivity whilst you're fixing your
There we go.
snake vent.
We found the escapee. She has pushed the vent off in the back. Right, I need to get some tape. We'll do that after.
But yeah,
Crazy.
all of my setups have buffalo beetles, they have springtails, and they have isopods.
Yeah, I think
Every single setup.
yeah,
No matter the species, I have them. And then soil with varanids, it's very important that you turn it anyway, because obviously when it gets damp and stagnant, you can get, there's a fancy name for it and I forget, there's a certain bacteria that will grow in damp substrate. So it's hard to have, like, so Kada, my baby tree monitor, she's got live plants and
yeah.
a cleanup crew,
But that's
but it's
because
not
she's
fully
small.
bioactive.
It's not just
Yeah, it's not.
small.
But no, I'd have the cleanup crew in every single setup.
Yeah.
I have live plants. I used to have live plants in here, but I'll be honest, this is my baby peach throat. And he never comes out. So I've made the cage a little bit more sparse. There's still plenty of hiding spots.
Yeah. It's all about the desensitization as well, because it's good having lots of enrichment, but obviously if you have a very timid species, it is good for them to be exposed to you a little bit, because it does help with the whole socialization and taming progress, because they'll be slightly more inclined to watching you through the glass at what you're doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. So there's still multiple hiding opportunities, but they still used to be live plants. But there's literally like 300s of, and like when my corn snake sheds, I just throw my corn snake shed in like a different enclosure, one for enrichment and two so the isopods can just eat it. But yeah, when I move, Mango, so my Indicus, she will definitely, my mangrove monitor, she will definitely have, my plan, I don't know if it will happen, but my plan is to have a 3 foot long by 3 foot tall by 2 foot wide swimming pool. So like a massive swimming pool, but like I'd love to go like glass so I can watch her do it, but like the ones you can buy from like garden centers that are like pre-lined, the plastic ones. I want to just buy one of them, filtrate that, heat that, so she has a massive swimming pool, and then I want to have like branches over the top, so it would replicate her wild, where she could sit on top. If she feels scared, she can dive into the water, and it'd be 3 foot deep, so it would be enough for her to actually plunge into there. And then obviously live plants, as well as, so in Kada, the baby tree monitor enclosure, she's got live, I cut down some oak from my parents' house, so I know there's no pesticides and bits and bobs, and that's all got live moss, and that will continue to grow. So yeah, I do want to push that side of it. And I don't think you can see, but there's like leaf litter everywhere in there for the cleanup crew, as well as to help the soil. But the problem is I turn the soil regularly, like once a month I turn the soil anyway. So I can't really have like the clay balls and the root ecosystem, because
I think that's monitor's quite destructive in that sense as well. So I know for a fact, with Wilson, I know for a fact that he, every time I come in, every morning when I come in, his water bowl, I've had to put it on the floor because he knocks everything off everywhere. I have to put his food bowl on the floor, he knocked it everywhere. And the soil in the bottom is always filled, he's always filling his water dish with soil. So, I mean, I'm here all the time to come and change his water, but he just completely fills it with soil. So I don't think I'd be able to fully bioactive him. When he gets big as well, it's like, there's no way you're going to be able to stop this, like a 7 foot lizard from digging up plants. It's not going to happen.
No, and I do whole cage nesting for some of my species, like my Timors have whole cage nesting, and I generally have nothing, and I mean nothing, other than a water bowl on the floor of their enclosure. Everything's screwed to the walls, so they can have the whole bottom just to lay. But there's moss and leaves and the odd little bit of like cork for the isopods to live in, but I can't. If I had plants in there, I wouldn't be able to dig for the eggs. So you have to take the sort of good with the bad. But I always have cleanup crew, and I always have leaf litter, and I always have. I've been contemplating millipedes, but I know they're toxic if one of them tries to eat it, which they probably would. So I probably won't bother. But
that's with monitors. Yeah, they possibly would try and eat it. I think with Wilson, because obviously he eats veg, I don't think he would
herbivorous,
bother as much. Which is what I like about him. Obviously, I do like the feeding monitors, the bugs. I mean, and tegus. I worked with a couple of tegus, and feeding time's always good with them. But also, he just loves his salad, so it's quite easy. Quite
It
easy
is a
going.
lot easier. Yeah, my mangrove, she has fresh crab that I catch myself. She has
Yeah.
shrimp. She has longstein. She has lobster. She had octopus the other day. She has chicks. She has roaches. She has locusts. She has worms. She has morio worms. Um, that's just off the top of my head. She has
Mainly
like three or
like
four different species of fish. Yeah, she eats.
okay, really good.
She cost
Yeah,
me. She probably cost me about between 100 and 150 pound a month just to feed her,
that's
just
crazy, isn't
her.
it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because she has such a diverse diet. It's not too
That's
bad for
good.
the other stuff that it feeds. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. But if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it properly.
Oh,
But like,
yeah.
I think it's like 8 Longsteins. So basically, they're like glorified shrimp, like mini lobsters. There's like
Nice.
8 from Sainsbury's, but they're like six. They're like £6. But she eats all 8 in one sitting, and she has them twice a week. Yeah, so she'll have them twice a week. So it's like £12 just gone,
It's
literally
good.
just like that.
Yeah,
And you're like, and like, it's very easy. I could just
I
pound her with
loved it.
rats, but that's not healthy for her.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, this is it. But she's cycled from eating laid eggs. I think she's laid eggs. Looking at her now, she's just fanned out, and she's quite skinny for her. So I think she could have laid, because I was expecting her to. So I think she could have laid eggs again. So that'd be the third clutch this year, which no one's doing, and that's not like
yeah, yeah.
balls to best, but like generally no one's doing it. So I think that's a
Exactly.
testament to
That is, that
my
is,
care and diet.
yeah, that is an achievement. Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, so
And
if that's all
cohabbing.
you'd like to ask me, you can feel cohabbing. Okay.
Yeah, because I
Um.
know it's a very touchy subject because lots of people do it without knowing what they're doing. But you see, I think some cohabbing is good because, for example, anoles in frog enclosures clear up the remaining live food, which can reduce stress in the frogs. And it's good because if you're feeding something that might, I don't know, for example, if you leave crickets in there, they might start biting at your frogs, sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've
Yeah.
never kept frogs,
I know.
but
I know what you
I've,
mean. Yeah.
you know, yeah.
I know what
So
you
I
mean.
don't know. Did you ever?
With monitors, I wouldn't cohab. I cohab same species. So I have
Yeah.
1.2 Timors that live together 24/7.
Yeah.
No
Which is
issues. And I have
yeah.
1.2 Akis that live 1.1, and I swap the females 6 monthly.
That's,
Other than when mum's laying, dad comes out, but the
okay.
females don't get on, so I can't
That's,
cohab them as a trio because the females
yeah.
just keep fighting.
You have to be very careful.
Um,
Yeah.
but and it doesn't take. My male's had a couple of scales nipped off his tail, where the females
Yeah.
just nipped at him to say stop trying to
Mm,
breed me. But when you're at work, you can't see it. But I wouldn't
yeah.
cohab monitors
No.
with any other species
Yeah.
because the chances
No.
are they'll get eaten.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't cohab stuff like my mangrove monitor because they're solitary and they only come together in the wild if one, there's a mass feeding, or two, they're breeding.
Yeah.
So as much as you could keep them together, it's just the
It's
same
not.
argument with the Timors. Though I don't think the
Yeah.
Timors would cohabit. Akis are proven to be communal, whereas Timors aren't.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I think I'd like to
yeah,
cohab. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm doing some research into it. I mean, there are definitely some good cohabs that can be done properly. 100%. That's definitely a thing. But I'm just looking into it. I would like
yeah,
to
you can
eventually,
do
but at the same
red-footed
time,
tortoises with your iguana.
oh yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Things like that. I mean, they're not going to bother each other. I mean, and if the tortoise is bothering the iguana, he can just shoot to the top of the enclosure. It's not a problem. And but also, I have to be careful. I think as well. If I cohab and post about it, I don't want to give people the wrong impression that they can just put anything together, especially on TikTok where it's just quick 10-second clips. I mean, I'd
Yeah,
love to. I need to, it's something that I need to think long about just because of that main factor. I don't want to promote something that can be misinterpreted and done badly, which is, I don't know, something for the future, I think.
If you're cohabiting any species, you do have to have a degree of experience in the sense of knowing what to look for with not the species. That helps, but I'm referring to your animals. Like, I know my animals very well, so if one of them is off, I can tell very quickly. So I can come home from work and I'll be able to tell if the Akis have been fighting without them actually seeing them fight, because I know their demeanors. So I know if Mac's at the top of the enclosure, the chances are, yeah, he's been upset because he doesn't hang around at the top of the enclosure and stuff like that. So, but I used to cohab anoles and frogs back in the day. And I used to cohab rough green snakes and frogs as well.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean,
back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, because currently at the zoo, one of the keepers, she said, I think it was eyelash vipers and little dart frogs as well. And
Okay.
it can be done. Yeah, there's probably so many endless possibilities of cohabs that can be done, but it's one of them situations where you have to be very careful, I think. So maybe one day.
Yeah, if the thing is with cohabitation, you always say there's always the opportunity for an animal to get hurt.
Exactly.
And if you're doing it for selfish gain, just so you can see multiple animals in an enclosure, maybe reevaluate. If you're doing it for the sense of breeding, then I think it's different. That's my opinion on it, anyway.
Yeah, and also, they can have the symbiotic. I can't remember the way around it is, where they can actually help each other out. Which
yeah. Because there's iguanas will knock the fruit down, and if they knock fruit down, the tortoises eat it, and blah 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 blah. If you're keeping two species that are from the exact same biodiverse area, then my Mac's dying. I just need to plug it in. But if you're keeping two species from the same area, then I don't see it as an issue. Because obviously those species will fill the same ecological niche.
Exactly, and it will be the same temperature.
Yeah, but it's something you just find your feet in. Just give it a play, give it a try.
Yeah, I think so eventually, but yeah.
Right, are you ready for the wrap-up questions?
Yeah, let's go.
Because we're just about to hit 2 hours.
Okay.
Question 1.
I like it.
What is your advice to someone just starting, just short and sharp advice for someone just starting the reptile hobby? Is question 1.
Definitely, above everything, do much more research than you think you would have to do, and don't let someone push you into getting something you don't want.
Yeah, sound. Yeah, I appreciate that. And the last question is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received in your life, regardless of to do with reptiles or not? Just as a general, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That's a tricky one. I've had lots of advice from different keepers, and that's just in the reptile industry. That's let alone everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be to do with reptiles. It can be to do with life. First thing that pops into your brain. It doesn't have to be the best, but first thing that pops into your head when I say that.
Let me think. All right, best advice.
Good question, huh?
That is a good question to finish it off. Yeah, I think it's.
Do you want to know mine?
Yeah, go on. Let's see yours.
So I've got 2.
Yeah.
One is this too shall pass. So no matter what you're going through, it will pass. Whether that's happy or sad, it will pass. And the other one is sometimes you find yourself in a really dark space, but always remember that seeds have to be planted in order to grow.
That's a very that is very good. That is very good.
Deep.
I don't have anything
deep stuff,
inspirational. Yeah, that is very deep. I don't have anything that inspirational inside of me, I don't think. But a good
It
bit of,
doesn't have to be inspirational. Just the first thing.
well, no, a good bit of advice I've had is just to do what you love, which is what I'm doing. Yeah. Because
Yeah, no,
obviously,
that's sound
yeah,
advice.
I think the reason that is the best piece of advice that I've had is just down to the fact that by doing something that you like doing, you're going to get better at it, and then obviously everyone wants to thrive doing what they love, which is what I'd love. I mean, everyone would love to do that, and I want to inspire people to do that. I want
Yeah,
people
no,
to be able
that's
to.
good. That's good advice.
Yeah, I want people to be able to see what I do and be inspired. I want people to do what they love, which is what I'm hoping to do, which is what
No, good for you.
I do best.
Good for you. Well, I thank you very much for your 2 hours, 1 minute, and 4 seconds of your time, Mr.
Wow.
Rango's
Yeah, it didn't
gaff.
feel like it at all. It did not feel like it at all. Wow.
No, it was good. It was good chatting. What I'll do is I haven't figured out to do this yet, but I'll figure it out and I'll put all of Rango's links in the description somehow.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
and we'll get him back for some point
Absolutely.
to talk about how he's getting on with breeding. And everyone wants to know any more, just leave a comment, and myself and or Rango will get back to you. So
Yeah, I mean,
for now, this is Paul's Monitors. No, you carry on. You finish out. We'll just say what you got to say.
this is the first podcast I've ever been on. I mean, I did my first ever live video on TikTok the other day, so it's all very new to me. So hopefully
There you go.
I'll be able to come back. I might see what else. See if I can go anywhere else. See what other lives I can get on. See what other new people I can meet. Then hopefully I'll be back with more. Yeah.
No, well, we/I, because I don't know how many views this will or will not get, because my YouTube channel either gets loads or none. So we'll find out in about a week's time. But either way, I've enjoyed the conversation and I've enjoyed your time. So I thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on.
That's no worries. Well, me and Rango will catch you in the comments. Thanks for everyone for listening. Like, subscribe, whatever that YouTube stuff is, and I'll catch you in the next podcast 2 weeks Monday, if all being well.
Let's go.